Okay, welcome back everyone. Two some more Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup. Played around has won a Draconian Gladiator now, so that's pretty good. I think I'm gonna do a Deep Elf Mage just to redo a bit of the magic tutorial style videos that I've been doing. That I did for the first Deep Elf Conjurer. Yeah, that was like so long ago now. I can't even remember it. I think it was a Deep Elf Conjurer? Or was it a Deep Elf? It was Deep Elf something. Basically, in the Greater Player Run for the beginner's Greater Player Run that I did to be replicatable, I actually did Deep Elf Conjurer, and then Deep Elf Conjurer got nerfed. I think they removed the Battle Sphere, Iskenderun's Battle Sphere, so that made it significantly worse. And I think I want to just redo that entire like set of mage things. It's mostly just the Deep Elf Fire Elementalist. I'll switch it out with some basic stuff instead. So I will probably do this video as a bit more of a tutorial style video, just so that we can cover some of the ground that we missed in the last video, make it in the last series, make it a little bit more up to date, I guess. So I'm gonna come into this assuming that we haven't actually done anything in the Greater Player Run yet. We're just kind of starting off. So welcome everyone to my DCSS tutorial for mages. My face is smiling, but I don't know what to say. All right, let's look at some spell let's start with the basics, right? Why did I pick Deep Elf? Why did I pick Fire Elementalist? So I picked this class specifically for a couple of reasons. So first of all, the Deep Elf is the obvious choice, is one of the obvious choices for mages to begin with. They have really good aptitudes in all magic-related goods. Oh, come on. So as you can see here, spellcasting's at +3, charms at +4, and a whole bunch of +1s in every other form of magic, and +3 in hexes. So they're very good at doing magic stuff. They are, however, quite squishy. They have very low HP, and hard to train armor and shields, kind of, -2 for both, -2 in fighting. But they tend to be good at just casting spells. As you can see, I have an intelligence of 19, which is really high. So how should we start? How should we start this tutorial, I suppose? Let's just go over the basics of being a mage, right? The general idea of being a mage is you cast spells with a Z. You can check what spells you have with Shift I. You can memorize spells with Shift M. What else can we do? I have no idea. That's about all I can remember. But effectively, every single spell has a level. So for example, this Flame Tongue spell that I have right here is level 1. That means that it costs 1 mana, and it also requires 1 spell level to memorize. So as you can see here, I have a spell level. I think I also have to be of a certain level to memorize each spell. Yeah, see, as you can see, I'm too inexperienced to learn my next spell, Throw Flame. So every spell has a power. So this is called spell power, and that is going to increase either the damage or at very rare occasions, the range. And for certain spells like summoning spells, it'll increase the duration and hit dice of your summon. So the power is for Flame Tongue, which is pretty exceptional. As it increases, the range also increases. You can see here that the Flame Tongue has a tile range of, I think, 2. Could be 3, but I think it's 2. And it also costs hunger. So every single spell that you cast costs hunger. You can reduce the hunger by increasing spell casting or increasing intelligence. Noise, usually not that big of a deal, but there are a couple of spells that you need to watch out for, mainly like Lightning Bolt and Fireball. Those two tend to be like the most noisy ones that you need to worry about in most games. In terms of training, generally speaking, you usually train spellcasting as if it were fighting. You also can train conjurations and fire magic. Here I'm going to train conjurations a little bit more than fire magic, because I feel like conjurations is a class that will branch out, and it'll train with... I can use it to, I guess, make other spells more castable. God, that was a really bad order. Okay, well, whatever. We're trying hard. Okay, we'll try it again next time when we do a real tutorial. But today I just want to kind of start again from scratch. Okay, intelligence increases spell power, reduces spell failure, and reduces hunger. Spellcasting does about the same thing. You can train the direct spell school, so he has Conjuration's Fire to decrease spell power. But that's probably enough waffling around for now. Let's see. So, why did I pick Fire Elementalist for my first mage? Well, the main reason why I picked Fire Elementalist for the first mage is because you have access to spells such as Sticky Flame, which lobs sticky fire onto a guy next to you and it does a damage over time. It's very powerful. Conjure Flame, which creates a burning pillar of fire, which can be used to block stuff and has other utility. And Fireball, which is an incredibly powerful spell. Most D&D players, anyone who's really played any fantasy game knows what a Fireball is. But it's basically just a 3x3 square of explosive fire, and it does a lot of damage. And it's very, very accurate, as in it won't miss. So it's the Fire Elementalist starting book is a really strong start. It's very offensive based, and it relies on some pretty heavy, like it's fairly straightforward in terms of like how you fight. You just kind of beat stuff up, and that's about it. That's why I like to pick it for my first time around. Deep Elf, again, I picked it because of the magic aptitudes, but they do suffer from HP issues, which is why I will have a caveat here to start that it's probably, if you've just started off, you can also switch and play Draconian, or you can possibly play, oh well, High Elves got removed, so I don't know what the hell you can play now. Let's see, what can you play? You could play, I don't know, so you could play like an Earth Elementalist Gargoyle, for example. You could play an Ogre. Those are decent spellcasters nowadays, weirdly enough. But I like to pick Deep Elf. You can also pick Draconian if you want. Alright, so we haven't even stepped off the main stage yet, but the general idea of a mage is to cast spells and shoot at enemies from range, right? They tend to drop a little bit lower in health. They tend to be a bit squishier than melee characters because health is not the primary resource for them. Instead, they tend to see their mana as health. So the tip that I use is treat your mana like your HP. If your mana is low, it basically is the equivalent of your HP being low. So you always have to try to avoid running out of mana. And you do that by reducing the amount of fights. Reducing the amount of enemies you fight at the same time. So as you can see there, I dropped to 4 mana there, so I went back and rested. Very important to do that, especially as a mage. Also, keep track of your range, your effective ranges, and don't let things get in melee with you. You will still train fighting, and you will still train dodging as a mage. That's misconception number 1. But the only problem is most of the time before lair, you have very little health because you're not training. Because you haven't got the EXP to spare to train for fighting. You usually start training fighting around like D6 or 7 when you're a little bit more established in the dungeon. But for the time being, the very beginning, you generally just want to have your character training those magic spells to get your spells up. So I'm at level 2 now. I'm going to pick up Throw Flame. Throw Flame is a pretty good spell. It's not incredibly good, but it does what it's supposed to do. For 2 mana, it essentially extends the range to full screen and does a small puff of flame. It's basically the same thing as Flame Tongue, except it costs 2 mana and is full screen. So here I can use it to poke at a guy from really far away, for example. This has effectively increased our damage range, which is useful, but it makes us less mana efficient. I just tried the ring on there, poison resistance. That's not too bad. I read a scroll. Identify, probably going to ID 2 potions just in case. I might need a curing at some point. But one thing that I want to point out here is, okay, let me think about how I'm going to phrase this that doesn't sound stupid. Alright, so with mages, generally speaking, there are 2, possibly 3 primary considerations as to, like, there's a couple of considerations that you should think about when you're picking spells up, right? The first one is range. So for example, Flame Tongue is really short range, Throw Flame is really long range, so technically Throw Flame is a little better. Another example in the later game would be Iron Shot versus Bolt of Fire, because Obviously Iron Shot is very short range, Bolt of Fire is quite long range, so I would take Bolt of Fire most of the time anyway. The second thing is damage. Iron Shot does a lot of damage, so you can use that to pick off enemies really quickly if they need to die, but again, it's short range. And the third thing that I would say is kind of important is the mana efficiency. So mana efficiency refers to how easily you can kill enemies with a certain amount of mana using just that spell. So Bolt of Fire, for example, is an AoE spell. It throws fire in a line, and it hits everything in that line, compared to Iron Shot, which is just one attack against one enemy, and it can miss as well. So it's significantly worse than Bolt of Fire in terms of mana efficiency. So these are a couple of considerations that I want you guys to just think about before you start picking up spells. Just think about, you know, how efficient, how useful, how powerful is the spell. Is it going to help me do something that my character can't do? Does it cover a weakness, for example? Does it cover the range weakness of this character? So I picked up Throw Flame because it increased the range weakness. It covered that weakness of range from my... Wait, is that me making noise? No. It covers the range issue that we have, I suppose. We could also use stones, but they're a lot less damaging. But of course, Flame Tongue will be more mana efficient because it costs less mana and it does about the same amount of damage as well. Of course, with a mage, I am focusing on all of my movements are made with the idea of I need to be able to escape at any point in time, and I never want to let anyone get in melee with me. So what that means is just kind of exploring in a way that that lets me escape. So as you can see, there's two enemies over there. I'm just going to walk back as I'm firing. It gives me a little bit of time to regen my mana as I'm walking back, and it also creates and maintains that space while bringing me towards the upstairs. So again, I missed my first bolt of my first throw flame. I'll chuck one more at him. Okay, it missed. I'm going to walk back a bunch. Let him come a bit closer so I can start flame tonguing him down, and then stand on the upstairs to heal. Again, just like with a melee character, you should never ever be exploring unless you're at full HP and mana. This is even more important for a mage because they're really, really useless without their mana. So I'm level 3 now. The stats is a pretty good consideration. Generally speaking, the Deep Elf, Conjurer, and actually, okay, so for the Deep Elf specifically, I don't need to necessarily go Intelligence because I might need a bit of Strength to get a bit better armor later on. That'll just reduce my encumbrance rating a little bit. For example, Draconian, you'll always pick Int because it's just better. You don't have as much Int to spare. On this character though, for the purposes of the video, I'll just pick Int. That's going to help me reduce my spell hunger and all that good stuff. So Conjure Flame is the next spell up on the menu. I'm going to go ahead and pick that up. I will not be picking up Inner Flame. That's probably the worst, that's easily the worst book in this spell in this book. If you've ever read a Scroll of Immolation, that's effectively what it does to a single target, and we all know that Immolation is not great when you have less than 20 health. Like, it's really not a good idea. However, Conjure Flame, on the other hand, is very powerful. So here you can see me blocking off an enemy by just putting a pillar of fire in front of him. I can then throw rocks, or I can use this spear that I picked up somewhere on the dungeon to go ahead and kill this guy. The worm is 10 speed, so I can just happily kind of smack at him a little bit. I'm not too fussed about anything. Alright, so I smacked him once, and then he decided to walk into the fire. So sometimes when you block an enemy with a cloud of fire, and then you hit them once, they'll actually move into the fire. I'm pretty sure it's animal intelligence level enemies will do that, because I've seen yaks do it before. But also certain enemies with high enough hit dice think they can survive the fire. They're not very smart. So you can avoid that pretty easily. So this is a snake, generally a pretty strong killer for a mage because of the poison damage and your low HP. However, I'm going to use a Conjure Flame here just to kill, just to block that guy off completely. He's not going to bother walking into the fire because he knows he doesn't have enough health to survive a single turn in it, and I can just Flame Tongue him from there. Reading my magic mapping, continuing on. Okay, so again, there's an adder, there's also a kobold. I'm going to move back immediately to avoid waking the kobold up, and then I'm going to Conjure Flame the whole way, Flame Tongue, pull upstairs, and heal. So this means that I've killed the adder, and I haven't taken any damage from the kobold. I then can kill the kobold with a different spell cost. But notice how I didn't move forward and attack that kobold while I was low on health, on mana. That's because if I ran out of mana, I would instantly be dead. This is an adder. They can swim, so adders can swim fast in water. That's why I need to back off. I had no room to make that same, I guess, strategy work. What I can do, however, is... Oh, that's a -3 curse sling. Okay, that sucks. It's not too bad, but I'll try to remove curse if I can. Alright, I'll get rid of it. Okay, anyway. Moving on. So even though I have resistance from poison as a ring, I'm still not going to risk it and consider... and, like, potentially get a melee with a adder, because it's still dangerous. I only have 19 hit points. So, if I was over here, I could actually shoot flame tongues or throw flames out, and it would cause steam to happen over the water, which would do a lot of damage this early in the game. I am a little bit hesitant to do that, though, because it might potentially go in front of me, though I don't think that's the case, actually. Like, see, these clouds are, like, potentially going to kill me in 2 turns if I don't step out of them. So, once I cast a spell over, a fire spell over water, when it creates those steam clouds, I want to be getting away as quickly as possible. I don't want to be fighting those guys in the steam cloud, because I might die. Casting an ice spell over the clouds of water, over the puddles of water, will create freezing clouds, which are a lot less random. Alright, so our spellcasting fire magic turned to level 4. I'm going to go ahead and pick up Sticky Flame now. Sticky Flame is a great spell. Again, it's a melee spell, so I have to be pretty careful with the way I use it, because we all know I'm really squishy. I have 24 hit points on D3, and I'm already XL4, so I'm pretty far behind the whole power curve thing. Okay, so there you saw me. I just had to take an attack. I could have gone around, but as in like up here, and avoided that attack completely. But I'm worried about, you know, certain orcs or whatever coming this direction. I'm just not really too confident with the way that the dungeon has been laying out for me. Just gonna go ahead and kite this guy with flame tongues, then heal. Generally speaking, healing should be done pretty far away from the bleeding edge of the unknown. You should try to move back a couple of tiles every single time you try to rest. I think that's a pretty good habit. Though I just immediately didn't do that because I knew that the only direction they could come from was up, and I wasn't really scared about that. But I will try to do that from now on as a way of, you know, enforcing good habits. So here I'm going to just pull down, not up, because there's a random black spot over there. Oh my god, my hands hurt from moving on the direction keys. Alright, I'll just rest here. There's a python. I'm going to back off here. There's an adder now behind him. I'm going to use Conjure Flame behind the adder. Behind the python. And then just kill this adder by myself. Okay, I'm going to eat a couple of the corpse chunks. Back off to a little safe spot. I didn't need to, but I just did. And then heal up. Okay, there's an Orc Priest here. I definitely don't want to fight him unless he's by himself. In fact, I don't even know if I want to fight him in general. But there is a Vehumit altar here, and I really need to... I want to pick up Vehumit. He's the most basic caster god that you'll pick. Generally speaking, he's the best god, mostly. Though Sifmuna has been changed to be very competitive with him, I still find that he tends to be a really good god for beginners. Vehumit provides you with range, which is the most powerful thing in the game for a mage. He increases the range of your offensive spells, and that makes a lot of different things really powerful, which we'll see later on in the game. He also provides you with mana on kill, and he also gifts you conjuration spells from time to time. I find that he's one of the, like I said, I find that he's probably the best god for a beginner conjurer player. When I say conjure, I mean using conjurations, as in like just general offensive spells. Here is a Orc Priest. I want to avoid fighting him where he can just smite me. I want to at least create an opportunity for me to turn the corner if he smites me badly. There we go. So if he was here, and I just moved like this, I could easily get out of line of sight with him, and then I could run like this, and that would be like 4 corners, and there's a good chance that he just wouldn't be able to catch me from there. So that's the positioning that I was trying to go for. There's a Wand of Disintegration here. That's a good pickup this early in the game. Generally speaking, all the wands are really good before there. Certain ones just get kind of bad, like random effects. They tend to be kind of bad after a while, but every wand has a use pre-layer at least. Okay, so here the hound is faster than me, so I can't really get away from him. I probably should have walked backwards and then aggroed him from a different area, but I find that this is probably okay on d4. I'm going to cast Sticky Flame on him. It just burns him to death. That's fine. Sticky Flame is a damage over time spell, but I guess the first tick just killed him, so that's great. Okay, there's Natasha. I'm going to cast Conjure Flame here. It's probably not a good idea, considering she's a ranged caster too, so it doesn't really affect her. But, you know, I'll just make sure the summons don't get me. Alright, so here's Natasha again. I'm going to walk right next to her and then Sticky Flame. That'll kill her, just straight up. One cast of Sticky Flame generally will kill most enemies before d6, so you're in the clear. Sticky Flame also has the nice ability, the nice effect of revealing invisible opponents, so you can use that as well. This is a Spear of Venom. That's an excellent tool that will synergize very strongly with our Conjure Flame. It's a really good tool to just kill stuff over a wall without wasting mana. Okay, so there are a couple of wands here that are pretty good. I would say the Ice Blast one, being only like 70 gold off, would probably be the next pickup. Acid one is great, of course, but I think it's too expensive. By the time we want it, we probably don't need it anymore. Okay, so Sigmund with a Scythe of Venom, that's quite scary. I'm actually going to start running. Okay, that's really bad. He has hasted himself. I'm going to go ahead and teleport here, just so I don't die to him. He has a potion of haste, so sometimes uniques can obviously hold on to potions. I want to make sure that he burns that potion of haste so that when I refight him, he's not using a haste potion again. I did have to burn a teleportation scroll, but it's probably worth it at this point. Alright, another ID scroll. That's going to go on the potion. I usually try to ID the potions that have large stacks in them first, because they tend to be the more useful ones. Alright, so there's an ogre here. He's a 10 speed enemy, and he's quite dumb, and he has very bad evade. Having a Conjure of Flame is just going to kill him straight up, and I'm going to level Int again. So the main reason why I did 2 Conjure Flames there was because in case he had enough health to decide that he wanted to brave going into the first Conjure Flame, I would still have a second Conjure Flame to finish him off if he tried to walk again. It's just a matter of figuring out how the AI reacts to Conjure Flame. Certain enemies will always change. Does Sigmund always have haste, or is that just today? Yeah, okay, so we just used 2 potions of heal wounds, 2 potions of haste now. So I'm pretty sure he should run out at this point. If he doesn't, that's unfortunate, and he was just a better player than us today. Alright, I'm gonna just disintegrate him. This is quite a scary position to be in, actually. Because the Scythe of Venom is quite a strong-hitting enemy. But we managed to kill him with the Disintegration Wand, which is a really strong damage per second tool. I'm gonna go ahead and pick up Natasha's stuff and then just stab this stupid worm to death. Scythe of Venom is obviously quite bad because of the incredibly onerous min delay issue. Like, we're gonna be swinging this thing at 1.10 or something like, 2.0 or something like that. And we won't be able to ever get it to min delay because it's 26 min delay. Just gonna drop it now. Alright, I picked up a Ring of Flight, that's fine. Fireball is getting low, Conjurations in Fire again being trained to make sure that I can get these spells lower in spellcasting spell failure. I'm on D4 still, so I probably won't train fighting yet, but I will consider training it soon. Alright, the Hiss of Flowing Sand is the Ossuary, which is an undead themed mini dungeon. That's quite useful. This is a cool Zen altar, but there's really no issue there. I'm gonna go find that Ossuary now. I could use the magic mapping, but I'm gonna just chance it for a little while. On the off chance I can just get it for free, and then I don't have to worry about wasting a magic mapping scroll. But I won't wait too long, because these things are timed, and I have 2 of them anyway. So the Ossuary looks like it's over here. That's pretty good for me. Crimson Imps are actually really annoying for Fire Elementalists normally, because they're immune to fire. But this character has a... oh god, that's a Water Moccasin. A very high damage, fast enemy. Fast poison damage dealer, I don't know. Normally these guys are threatening, and this one still kind of feels threatening, but because I have a poison weapon, I can just kind of stab the guy to death, and the poison takes over. Weirdly enough, demons aren't actually poison resistant for some reason, so, you know, you can just kind of kill them. Okay, the Ossuary is below us. What's over there? That looks like a shop. Alright, so the good thing about... okay. I think what I need to do is I actually need to run. As weird as that sounds. I need to run here, and then I can just conjure a flame twice. Or 3 times. Undead are really stupid, so they'll just walk straight into the fire. Like, they're actually stupid. Not insulting them, I mean, they're just dumb. That's just straight up how they work. They're mindless. So conjure a flame, they'll just walk straight into it, and you can just kill them. Mummies also suffer from RF minus, so this place is just completely easy for me, which is really good. The Fire Elementalist, of course, not much stuff is actually fire resistant until later in the game, so you can get away with killing a lot of stuff pretty easily. Alright, so an orange potion, some fizzy potions. I'm going to go ahead and ID the fizzy potion. Generally speaking, the ossuary tends to not give... the potions they tend to give are, like, oddly bad sometimes. I don't know why that's the case, but it just is. So I'm going to go ahead and try to, like, just ID some of the potions now, clear it up. And I guess I'll ID one more scroll. So I got a potion of agility and 2 potions of mutation from this place, I think it was. And it looks like we found a book as well. Book of Geomancy. So the Book of Geomancy is going to be pretty decent, actually. The Stone Arrow offers us an irresistible slot. So Stone Arrow is a spell that only is checked by armor, not by an elemental tag. So any fire-resistant enemy we can just pelt with Stone Arrow, which is a pretty good idea, actually. I might pick that up right now. But I think because of the fact that I'm playing with the Hermit, who gifts spells, as you can see, shock is blue. It's just given to me randomly. Because I know that he's going to be gifting me crap, and I can't actually control when he stops gifting me that spell, I'm actually going to hold on to some spell levels in case I need to memorize something else. Obviously, if I was in a position where I felt like I was in danger or I was weak, I would try... Oh, Jesus. I would try not to... I just wouldn't bother. I wouldn't make that consideration at all. However, I will actually... Sorry, I lost my train of thought. What was I talking about? Yeah, because I feel like pretty safe, I'm just not going to go ahead and memorize that spell. There's no real point, I think. It's probably just not important. Anyway, there's a potion store here. I have how much gold? 243. That's pretty good. Alright, Hound, get Conjure Flamed, and then just poke them away. Easy peasy. Alright, so potions of curing are pretty good. I'm going to go pick that up. Potions of magic are also really good. I could eventually pick up the potion of brilliance, which is pretty decent. You can use it to cast really high level spells, or decently high level spells compared to your experience level. And then you can kind of just like have a short term burst of intelligence. It's pretty good for a mage. Alright, continuing on. As you can see here, I've pretty much just never been hit in melee. I think like the number of times I've been hit in melee since D6, since D1 has been like less than 10, I'd say. Like actual melee scenarios. This is what a lot of new players struggle to handle. They really don't consider melee to be like a problem, but as a deep elf and as a mage in general, you should always treat melee as if it's just like complete suicide for you. It's reasonable. It's not really reasonable or feasible once you're when you play mage. Like it's too hard to survive when you're in melee with stuff. I'd rather just stay at range. And Conjure Flame is a really good tool for that. That's why I like to have it. I'm going to put the protection from fire on instead of the Ring of Flight. Ring of Flight's completely useless. It doesn't really do much other than let you evoke flight, which is, again, not very helpful for most scenarios. And it's definitely not helpful for any combat scenarios that I can think of. Okay, so again, Bullfrog, just keep him back. So one of the reasons why I find that a lot of new players will fuck up, well, I say fuck up, but like they just never really get Deep Elf or Mage, and they tend to give up at this area, is because they don't really understand that melee is absolute anathema to this character. Just don't be in melee ever, and you'll be fine. A lot of the time it's just that common misconception that just changes. Like, everyone is always colored, usually, with that first win being Ooh, okay, so I need to sticky flame this guy once he's in melee with me. Yeah, I'm taking as you can see, I'm taking some pretty hefty hits, but the thing is, I know that he's going to die so quickly due to the Conjure Flame that I can just run away afterwards. I can actually go all the way to the upstairs and heal. Yeah, a lot of people play this game starting as a melee character, so they don't really understand how mages work. Mages just can't take hits. Just don't take hits at all, and you'll be fine. Again, it's more often than not that I just win encounters without ever actually taking health damage. And again, that's because magic is my health, not my actual HP. I always think of my HP as an arbitrary timer before I die. Anyway, I'm going to leave it here, because it's been 30 minutes, and we got to temple. That's what I wanted to do today. I have to go to work now. This is supposed to be a tutorial series, so if there's anything that you want me to mention, you older folks, if there's anything you guys want me to mention for the new players, let me know. I will probably include them. I'll wait a couple of days to, this is actually recorded on the same day as the Draconian, so I'll wait a couple of days, or I think 2, to get you guys tips that you want to include in the tutorial. But generally speaking, today was just talking about the basics of spellcasting, the basics of magic, and the basics of positioning. But we will be talking more about positioning. We'll talk about more stuff generally, and we'll just see how things go. Anyway guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow.